Hello, beautiful soul tribe. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm Kay, and I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. I am having an amazing day. It is very cold where I'm at, so I'm staying warm. Anywho, I was reading a book and I've been reading it for a few weeks now. It's called The Mountain Is You, and it's such a beautiful book. I definitely recommend. I am not getting paid. This is not sponsored. I just honestly think this is a good book for everyone to read because there's something in here for everyone, I believe. And I was reading the book and I came to a passage and it was saying how we are deeply entangled with wanting that we don't realize, or we have a hard time shifting into a state of having. And this opened up a whole inner dialogue, and that's what sparked me to create this episode today because I wanted to talk about it and kind of get your opinion about it as well. Um, I do believe like wanting things and desires are a part of our nature and they add to our happiness and they help us create a balanced life and a more whole life. And I know a lot of times when we're going through our spiritual journey, we'll read a lot of books and they talk about like stripping the ego and stripping desires and not having any to be able to accomplish this state of being where you're just always at peace and happy and all of these things. But I do feel in a way that is unrealistic because if we're not meant to have desires, we wouldn't really have them, right? So I think it's a part of the human experience and it's a beautiful part. And when we're able to accept this and accept our desires without feeling guilty about them or talking ourselves out of those desires, we're able to live a life that brings us happiness. And of course, true happiness comes from within, and then we bring it out into the world by expressing it in the way we dress, what we watch, how we talk, how we spread love and happiness around us, what we do, and how we give service to others. Like these are things we bring to the world through our happiness. But this passage made me think that we often do not pay attention to the cycles of wanting, meaning that we don't always know why we want something, or we're not even paying attention and have the mindfulness to know that we're in a cycle of wanting. I talk about this a little bit on a short that I just created, and I say that, when you're lacking money, you often want it really bad. And you're like, okay, what can I do to get it? How can I make more of it? If you're making less or if you don't have any, how can you make some? And then you get to the point where you're making more, you have plenty, but now you shift it from wanting money to having it, but now you shift it from the mindset of wanting it to wanting to protect it and keep it. So you're still in the state of wanting that is created out of fear. And we have to be aware enough to know when we have shifted from having to wanting, because we get a lot of things in our life and we don't take time to reflect and give ourselves credit for how far we come, to seeing how something is slowly trickling in, because sometimes the shift is really, really slow and small, that it's there, but it's just a little bit that you don't realize that you have it until like it's too late or it's way down the line and you're like, what am I doing all this for? Why am I stressing myself out? Like I already have this. So, so it's it's really important to hone into why you're wanting something, and then also noticing the shifts of the beautiful shifts, because I think it's a part of life of having a desire and working for it or going after it, and then having that first step of like getting it. Like, let's say, for instance, you have a business and you have a desire to create a business, and then you create it, and then it's like, okay, I created it, but now I have a desire for it to make income, and you start making that income. And that's those little small steps and those small shifts to realize that you're having it. It's not a dream. It's not something that's far off. It's literally with you right here, right now. But sometimes we skip those or dismiss those small steps of having something because it's not living up to the expectations we've created in our mind. And we have to be able to release expectations and be open to how it shows up for us. Sometimes it shows up in big waves and it makes a big impact and it's a boom and it's a show. And sometimes it's small and quiet and graceful. And you have to be able to have that stillness within yourself to recognize, like, hey, I used to want this and now I have this life. Like, oh my gosh, I wanted to have a spouse that loves me, and look, I have one now. Or I wanted the child, wow, like I have the child. Or I wanted the job, oh my gosh, look, I have the job. Even if it's an entry level job, like you're working at the place you wanted to work at, right? So appreciate that you have it now, claim it, it's yours. Don't live in a constant state of wanting. Okay. And I also wanted to talk about overconsumption, because I think overconsumption goes along with always wanting. We overconsume food, we overconsume content, we overconsume materials, products, um, and we don't give ourselves time to cut our energy off from overly expending it. Like constantly watching the same type of content, you don't realize you're in a cycle of watching the same thing until you take a step away and you're like, oh wow, I was really in that thing. I was really stuck. I was dedicated to doing the same thing, watching the same thing, having the same thing. Until you're able to live in that mindfulness and disconnect from the outside world and really tune into your inner self and give your mind, your body, your spirit a time to like just breathe and have your own energy to worry about and nothing else, you won't realize the cycle you have been in. So this book is beautiful, and like I said before, I really recommend it, and because it just opened up a whole dialogue. I could probably talk on and on, but I didn't want this message to be too long. I just wanted it to be sweet and short, and I hope it has helped you. If you're here, you're listening, then this message was for you, because I do believe all the messages, the thoughts, the ideals I share on this channel is a reflection from my soul to yours, and there's something that your soul wants you to hear. So I thank you so much for listening to this episode, and as always, I hope you have a good morning, evening, or afternoon whenever you are tuning in to listen to this episode. Bye for now.